friends. Today we're doing something a little different. Wow, that's really loud. I'm so sorry, guys. Hey, look at I've got a light, and I'm in the spotlight. Because I got a camera and it's got a light on it. So welcome, my friends, to another Watch with Ray. Today we're gonna do the Miss Scarlet and the Duke, episode 4, Momento Mori. Well, this is from season 1. Oh, guys, it's been a journey. It's been a journey with this show. I felt all the feels this week. Up and down with William again. Up and down with William. Man, we start off, and I do not like him at first. Do not like. So let's just get into it. This one is okay. So I wanted to see, and I should look to see what rating we have on this. This episode, because it'd be interesting to see if, like, besides the ratings that I give, which is, only honestly the only thing that's important, what others think. I mean, who fucking cares, really? I do care. I do care if you guys like things or not. I'm just being facetious because I'm wily like that. Okay, let's see. Episode or season 1. This one it's a little higher. It doesn't look like anything has really jumped over. Well, the last episode of this season jumps to 8.1, but this is one of the highest ones in the season, which is really interesting. We'll get there. It's a 52-minute episode, so it's a little longer than the last. So we end like pretty close to the end of last. So we opened very close to the end of last episode. Eliza's kind of like, they're all excited because they're going to get the newspaper from the day before, from the reporting on the suffrage bombing failed attempt, and so Eliza is excited because she thinks she's going to have this huge, publicity bump. And Rupert, Mr. Parker, is excited because he thinks that his name's going to be in lights because he's her business partner. Oh, but we all forgot that William fucked her big time. Not the fun fucked. He, screwed her big time because when his superior, Superintendent Sterling, asked him, would you want to, recommend or commend Miss Scarlet? He's like, or anyone else? And he's like, nah, nobody else. Nope. No one with a vagina. Everyone with penises, yes. So yeah. He she's a little disappointed because she's, again, still needs the publicity for her business. We get that fucking banger of a theme song again. So all the news that, however, for William, on the other hand, is all good. It's all like, the London Times, this and that. They're all singing his praises, how amazing he was to solve the case. Like, they ignored her part of it altogether because he didn't tell them. He was like, oh yeah, I totally did it because I'm awesome. And, but however, now the Illustrated Police News want to write a story about him. So his superintendent, his superior, is like, oh, if that happens, please, just put a good word in for me, how awesome I am, and possibly it might help you out to get a promotion. Oh, William. Oh, and then, because he just throws all the goodwill I had for the goodwill William I have for him out the window, because then he lies to her because she comes to see him and she's like, the fuck, William, here, you couldn't even acknowledge me at all. I need this. I need this for my reputation, for my business. And he's like, well, I need this for, she's like, I'm sorry. You're a dude who has a job, who is respected in the police community. I am trying to make a living, and you're fucking with that. Like, it's awful. William just so he straight up lies to her face. He's like, I couldn't give you credit. Like, I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to give you credit for the case. I was like, no, sir. So anyhow, she leaves pretty upset, rightly so. So on the way back, I think the last episode we were introduced to Mr. Hildegard, sweet little Herr Hildegard, who is, I think he's the mortuary, like the mortician, or like he's the undertaker, I think, next door. And he's just a sweet little German man. He's adorable. And he stops her this time. And she's like, God damn it, I don't have time for this. He introduces her to his niece, Tilly Hildegard. And he wants to hire Eliza for a job with his one of his partners that he works with, or like another business person that he works with, Mr. Henderson, James Henderson, who is a death photographer. So all those fucking creepy pictures, like from the others, yeah, that guy did these. Cool. And in fact, we get to see him like mid, portrait taking, like old, fucking dead guy next to his like alive wife. And I was like, this is, the Victorian England was weird. It was real weird. I mean, I get it. I totally understand. But that'd be like us taking pictures, going up and like, yo, selfie in front of like the fucking coffin, like, or like a casket, like, yo, what up? Like, worse. Like, no, nah, bruh. So there's a whole, okay, so when she goes to talk to Mr. Henderson, he tells her he's been getting like very mysterious and kind of threatening missives, like correspondence in the mail, and there's some of them had blood on them. For the most part, the pictures include, so it's like his own pictures that he's taken, but someone has tampered with them and put his recently deceased, like in the past year, he lost her last year, wife Catherine in the pictures. Like, what the fuck? So it had to be someone who knew him, and he burnt all of the negatives. So he doesn't have any clue as to how these are still coming, because there's no, all of your face, because there's no way to, like, there shouldn't be any way to copy these because the negatives are gone. So then we get this whole side plot with William and this journalists from the Illustrated Police News who are coming to do a story on him, and I couldn't give a fuck. I was so angry with William at this point. I'm like, fuck off, William, into the goddamn distance. And when the reporters just looking for a story, a sensationalized story. So like they were like, oh, here's a murder. He's like, well, was it? And the way this guy, props on him for him, like kudos to him, because the way he plays it is gross, but that's what he's supposed to be doing. He's like, oh, was it a male? Was it a female? Was it a child? I'm like, oh God, you're gross. Like I just feel like I need to take a shower. But they wanted the sensationalism of it. So we find out that Catherine took her own life. So Catherine, Mr. Henderson's previous wife, that's how she died. And then there's blood on the actual photograph and the envelope that the missive came in. So then we also, I mean, it's just like one reveal after the next. The next we reveal is that this we see her in the first scene with Henderson and Miss Scarlet. Her name is Amelia Evans, and we find that she is his assistant. We find out furthermore is that she's actually also at this point started out and is continuing as Violet, his daughter's governess. Then we find out that he's also Henderson's fiance, because now they're engaged. I'm like, what other secrets? Oh, there's more secrets, guys. More secrets to come. And Amelia comes to see her because she thinks that Catherine is punishing them from the grave. Like she thinks that Catherine is the one who is sending these. Why does she think that? Because her mom's a big old psychic. Mrs. Evans is a big old psychic. So we get to sit through the scene of her like doing her psychic power shit. And at one point you actually kind of start to believe her because she gives up a whole bunch of information about Mr. Scarlet passing away and like Eliza and the frog from the first episode about how she's the pet frog she named after one of her her teachers. And you're like, okay, no one would know that, right? Like no one that she barely knows Eliza, so how would this woman know this? okay, so maybe I still like, and Eliza's still like she's on the she's like not believing it. Um, and then Eliza decides to show up at the mortuary because she wants to get more information about this Mrs. Evans. She's like, okay, well, I need to know besides petty thefts, what this person like, if there's any petty theft charges against her. If besides that, is there anything like worse? There's like robbery, any sort of thing like that. Um, and there's nothing. There's nothing on this woman. But at the same time, Frank, who is I think he's like DC Frank, so he's like he's under William. He's a detective captain. He's like a lieutenant, I think. He's Lieutenant Frank. He's been in the last 4 episodes. He's like this schlubby guy that's always like coming in and telling William like there's all kinds of cases coming in. So he's like a side character, and he ends up trying to get this information for Eliza, and he's kind of like, you need to leave. But before that, he learns what she's looking for, that she's looking for more information about Mrs. Evans because of this, like, and he puts it together that she's working on a case for Mr. Henderson, for this death photographer that actually had come through Scotland Yard at one point, and they turned it down because they just thought it was like, whatever, a bunch of, hooba juba sort of stuff, like whatever, spooky stuff. And fake stuff too, let's be honest. But we find out also, I mean, there's so much happens in this. Like every time you turn around, they're fucking like, oh, I didn't tell you. We didn't tell you about this. Oh, we didn't tell you about that. Y'all, this is like, I don't know, like, all my children. Because all of a sudden we find out that not only were Henderson and his governess / assistant Evans together now, but they were together while his wife was still alive and knew about it and was unhappy and was the reason that she killed herself. So awesome. Henderson has to go away out of town, so he's like, hey, could you please stay with Amelia? She's really afraid to stay by herself. And we're all like, and Amelia's so sweet that she puts her in Catherine's, room that she murdered herself in. Cool. Suddenly in the middle of the night, which I wrote my one notice, this room was hella Catholic, because there's like, the dog is standing on a table. Get down. It's great. There's like crucifixes everywhere. There's like one on each which could make sense as to why she was probably having a hard time with the whole, like, her wife, her husband is cheating on her thing. I mean, just in general, probably had a problem with it, but the whole Catholic thing probably didn't help. So during the night, Millie has some like, bad dream, and she screams, and of course Eliza goes in to check on her, and there's this, a random mysterious missive that just has shown up on her bed. Another one of these like photographs. And she's like, well, if it's not me, it's not you, who could it be? And it could be the one maid they have. They only have one maid. Her name's Ruth. So Scarlet tails her, tries to get so she goes into, Ruth goes into this like message office to send a telegram or something out. And Eliza tries to get it. And the guy's like, nah, no, that is against our rules. We have privacy policy, blah, blah, blah. And William, because now William knows about, and he's intrigued because it could be something that the Illustrated Police News could use. Thank you, Frank, because Frank slipped that this is what she was working on. So he's waiting for Eliza. I'm like, you son of a fucking bitch. You are going to screw her over again. And he just is like, oh, we had to close all these open cases by the end of the month. It's, superintendent's orders. And so she uses William to get the information she needs about this. Like, she gets the telegram. And well, she gets the like he goes, I can't give you the message, but I can give you who it went to. And come to find out, it's Mrs. Evans. So it's Amelia's mom. Amelia's mom was the receiver of all this information that was coming from Henderson's death photography studio. So they go to see Mrs. Evans and come to find out she's been like lying. Shocker. I know you're all super shocked that a spiritualist from the Victorian England was lying. But she'd had like hundreds of files of people that had either come to, or just people, because she had a file on Mr. Scarlet and had like stories that he had told Herr Hildegard, and Herr Hildegard had like been talking with someone, and uh and Ruth, and Henderson, they had just been sitting having dinner one day, and he was telling about his neighbor or whatever, and he just kind of happened to tell some of the stories about uh Eliza growing up, that of but the frog and stuff like that, but he was just telling his friend Henderson. Well, Ruth would just send all these stories to Mrs. Evans, so she had files on everybody, so that she could be like, oh, so this is why, I could feel your father in this room and he's telling me this blah 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 blah. Anyhow, I'm going really fast, guys. Enjoy it. Or don't. I mean, please do. Let's see. Oh, and so they decide to they can't, and she's very adamant, I did not send these pictures. I might have lied to my daughter, because she was telling her daughter, she was telling Amelia, yeah, Catherine's talking to me and she's telling me that she's punishing you for this. So she goes, I lied about that, but I did not send her these pictures. Like, I might be we're not we're assholes, but we're not scumbags. I mean, small town murder. We're assholes, but we're not scumbags. So she's like, I might be an asshole, but I'm not a complete scumbag. And so they arrest her because they're not sure. So they need to suss out what's actually happening. As they're tying everything up, here comes Franken, and he spills the beans again, because he's like, "Hey, William, that journalist is here. He wants some sketches of the psychic and blah 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 blah." And you could just see Eliza's like, "You son of a bitch! Are you gonna, like, pretty much, are you gonna throw me under the bus again, or are you gonna, like?" And kind of, she says to him along the lines of, "So how am I going to get screwed in this one?" And he says, "Oh," he says, like, "You understand how many people are above me, that I'm working against to get this job. Like, even after 5 years in the military, I'm still being overlooked for a job." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You have prejudice for the job that you're doing? Wow. Oh my God, let me feel so bad for you, as I'm a woman and I can't get anyone to respect me. Awesome. Cool." So William is on my shit list. He's super far down on my shit list, or no, sorry, super far up on my shit list. Then we find out. So Eliza goes to Henderson, and she's going to tell him the whole thing. And Amelia thinks that Eliza has screwed her over. Like, you've arrested my mother, and we kind of think it might be Amelia, because we just don't know. I mean, like, that's really where my thought was, like, well, it's got to be Amelia. So Amelia's leaving. She's like, I can't live here. I can't stay here. I'm going to go visit a friend and maybe find a new job. Come to find out, it's Violet, the Henderson's daughter, Violet, who Amelia was the governess for, is the one who her mother before she killed herself was like, I need you to do this. And this is a child, so she kind of strong-armed her into, after her death, sending these photos that she doctored. So Catherine doctored these because she's not happy, shocker, that her husband and the governess are fucking. So she doctored all of these photos, and she had Violet scare them, like, send them after her death, like, make sure you get these. And um uh and it happened to be like Eliza caught her, not caught her, but she came upon her playing with her dolls, and she was playing death photography with her dolls, and she's like, "Oh, you're looking very pale. Let me." And what she does is she pricks her finger and uses that for rouge. She's like, "Oh, this one needs to look a little bit more lively," and that's how she fingers out, well, fingers, fingers out that that's the blood. That's where the blood came from. Um. So so we get back to, oh, sweet Rupert Parker. He actually asks Eliza, "Why don't we just get married?" Like he doesn't say it that way, but he's like, "Can we maybe we should have an arrangement. My mom wants me to still get married. You know, it's unconventional, conventional, conventional, conventional. Like, why don't we just get married?" And she's like, "Honey, no, 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 that won't be." I said, she's like, "Neither of us will be happy." And he's like, well, kind of like along the lines of, "Well, you know, I'm not going to be happy. Like, we would never be having sex anyhow." And she's like, "No, honey, no." And so they end that conversation on a good note. Like they both realize, like he realizes this is not, like, yeah, it's a good in theory, but nah, probably not. However, he he does put some feelers out to possibly we see him getting involved with Mr. Hildegard's niece, Tilly Hildegarden. So I see that she's in the next few episodes, so I'm guessing that he's unfortunately, probably, like, not unfortunately, like, fortunately gonna marry her, but unfortunately, because I don't think she knows that he's gay. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but you know, for him, I hope he's safe. I love Rupert's character so much. I don't want anything to happen to him. Um, and William wins me back because the very last scene is Eliza comes back to her office and it's open. She's like, "The fuck?" Like, "Oh shit." And he has a spare key that Henry had given him. Actually, it's his second spare key because Henry was always losing his key. And William had stopped the presses of the Illustrated Police News right before it went to press, and he gave the journalist all the information about Scarlet, so, and said that she was the one who cracked the case. So he won me back. He won me back for this episode. Who knows? Next episode he can fucking piss me off again, because that's the way I see this show going. Is I get so excited and I love him for like 2 seconds, and then he does something else and it makes me angry. The last bit of this show or this episode is there's this picture that the whole episode Eliza keeps straightening. And at this point, she straightens it, walks away, and it completely falls off the wall. And there's a hole in the wall, and there's a journal. And that's it. Spooky. It's spooky how it falls off the wall. Yeah, so it's not one of my favorite episodes. It's not bad. I just don't think it's believable. Like, I yeah, I just don't. I don't understand. It didn't make a lot of sense. So if I'm gonna give it a rating, I'm gonna give it a grade. I hate to say this. I'm gonna give it a C plus. It wasn't. It's really sad that it's one of the highest ones this season because I'm like, it's not one of my favorites. If they were just looking for something like, "Hey, wow, you'll never guess what the fuck happened." Well, no, because it doesn't make any sense. Why would the kid be said? Whatever. So, and also no Moses. So no Moses, you automatically get a lower grade. Hello. Yeah. So that's this episode. I'm very excited. Um, we will just be releasing an episode tomorrow for oh, what is tomorrow? I'm trying to remember. We're recording ahead of time, and I'm trying to remember when next the Monstrous Duke and I, maybe possibly that's coming out tomorrow. And then we just recorded Sound of Madness by Maria Louise, Maria Lewis. So those will be coming out very shortly. But yeah, so I will talk to you before then, before Sound of Madness, because I will have a review of episode 5. We're almost through the first season, guys. Are you excited? I'm not, because I know what's going to happen. I know I'm going to get angsty and I'm going to get angry as fuck and I'm going to cut a bitch. Anyhow, y'all know I don't like car crash angst. All right. Well, on that note, Happy reading.